All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, February 27th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, it is February 27th. It is, I would say, it is time to declare winter is over. Let's move to spring. Let's preview spring. And on the BO Boys, we cannot preview a season without the reason for the season himself from Exhibitor Relations Co., our special guest. He's back for another double issue spring preview issue. Jeff Bock is here. Jeff, welcome back to the BO Boys.
Boys, it's always a pleasure to be here previewing this Entertainment Weekly style. They wish they could preview like this. We fold it out, we roll out not just 1 hour, it's usually 2 hours, of good times. And, I don't know that we can make it because the schedule is so light this spring. Hollywood kind of forgot that they were supposed to release some blockbusters, but we'll give it the old college try.
There's not a ton of guaranteed blockbusters, but there are a lot of movies for sure. There's a lot of products. How big the product is, we'll see, but there's a lot of it. There's quantity, I would say.
There is a lot of that. It may make you crave another Ghostbusters film, whether you like the last one or not. It would be nice to have something of that scale on the schedule, or another Godzilla, King Kong, something like that. As I think we'll find out, we'll be like, hey, wait a minute. Did Hollywood miss something? Or we just wait until summer? So this is going to be a really interesting spring for Hollywood, I think. Might be a wake-up call.
Was Frozen Empire 1 year ago? Was Frozen Empire 2024? That can't be.
Yes, Kung Fu Panda 4, right? Dune Part 2, Godzilla X Kong. Yeah, that was all spring, last spring.
Dune
and that's
2.
what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So if we think about that, if we're comparing it already to that, we're in trouble. So Hollywood, buckle up, guys. This might be a little rough ride.
All right, well, we're going to get everyone through it here. So before we get to the spring, let's just quickly close the book on winter. We've got our final winter release coming out this Friday, February 28th. It's a movie called Last Breath from Focus Features. Woody Harrelson's in it. Simu Liu is in it. Someone named Finn Cole. Should I know who Finn Cole is? He's like the star of this, but I do not know who that is. Jeff or Clayton, are you Finn Cole guys?
Finn Cole.
Looks like he's a Peaky Blinders.
Is he part of the Beard Club? Because I think Clayton and I would know him if he was. I just don't think he is.
And if he's not, a beard guy.
No, he's not a Beard
for men.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you got to watch us on YouTube, because you would see right now Clayton and Jeff are rocking killer beards. And I don't think Finn Cole is in the Beard Club. So, yeah, this Last Breath. It's based on a true story, based on a documentary about a true story. It's a narrative remake of a documentary, and it's basically a diver who got trapped underwater, and then other divers come after him. And Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu are the rescue divers. Finn Cole is the diver who's in trouble. So guys,
this is the Abyss without all the good stuff, right?
I mean, probably less on-set misery, I would think, than the Abyss. I don't know if the director of this movie almost drowned one of his leads. I don't know. I haven't heard Simu Liu talk about this. Clayton, are you excited to see? You're a Woody Harrelson guy. We all are. Are you excited to see Woody Harrelson in a submarine going after Finn Cole?
No, I mean this seems like a vestige of the sort of movies that we would get pre-superhero, I mean, I like the idea that this feels like a very dad movie, but I don't think I don't really have any interest in it. And like the commercial prospects of it are pretty low, I would assume, because of course, Woody Harrelson, great value add, a guy that people will be like, oh, I love that he's in this. It's great that he's in this. Leading a movie, I just don't know how much that's going to bring to the table right now.
The one thing it has going for it clocks in at 93 minutes. And we all like 93-minute long movies, right? PG-13. But at least in the AMCs around Los Angeles, I checked before this week, that it's not even getting the biggest theaters. You know, it's getting the mid-range theaters. So when Focus Features tried to book this, the other theaters are like, nah, we're going to keep Captain America in the big ones, whether it makes money and the Monkey, and we're going to give the only film that's opening wide this weekend, kind of the mid-range to smaller theaters. And so that already goes to show you, I mean, how many can you sell? How many tickets can you sell in a mid-range theater? Not that many. So prospects are pretty sad. It's pretty grim here.
So Pat, to the people who live in New York City, greatest city in the world, and go to the greatest theater that exists in New York City, Lincoln AMC, this is going to be in the basement. We're going down the escalator to see this movie, which is apropos. I mean, it is apropos, you know, but I don't think it's the reasoning is not because it's apropos.
Is that possibly something they could work into the marketing plans? Is see this underwater movie underground? It'll be playing in the basement level screening rooms of every theater in America. And it'll be like as if you're in a submarine watching these actors who are in a submarine. Could that work, Jeff? Do you think that might be a play here? See it in the basement.
I mean, yeah, I would have done YMC pool screenings across the nation, and that would have been huge. But Focus Features is just not thinking that far ahead. You know, this is for most people post-pandemic, right? And they just think people want to go to traditional theaters. And I just don't agree with that either. And also, is it really too late to add a shark? Can we add a shark to this movie? We know that shark movies kill. They kill. It doesn't matter. You could be a crappy release distributor. You could be Ketchup Entertainment. You release a shark movie, you're on the board. You know, I can't believe you're going to do an underwater movie and not even, maybe there is a shark scene. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe there is a scene where a shark shows up or an Ed Harris shows up, you know, floating disembodied head of Ed Harris floats by, something like that. That would have been cool. But honestly, guys, there's no draw. Where's the draw to this? You're right. This is Focus Features, a release that seems like it might have been from 20 years ago. Like it just, I can't believe this is a release now. This feels like a film that should have gone straight to streaming, honestly.
Yeah, and God, that is damning because I mean, the three of us, we're theater guys. We're kind of like everything should go to theaters, but I kind of agree because there's no shark, so there's no super dangerous element for them other than being underwater sucks. Like that, we all agree. Don't want to be underwater, and the person who they're going after doesn't seem special. It's not a child. It's not an animal. It's not like, okay, this guy is the president's son or whatever. And, you know, either way, people would be like, oh, let's see what happens to the president's son underwater. But there's no special element other than a guy's under the water and two other guys are going after him.
Yeah, if these were tech billionaires under the water and a submersible that shouldn't be under there, now you're talking. Now people are interested, but they could have made that film. They could have made that. This is the film they chose to make. And oddly enough, Focus Features plays heavily into the spring as we get into they have a couple more films this spring that we'll get to, but none of them. This is like, even for Focus Features where they're kind of taking center stage here in the spring, it's just the multiplex masses are just not interested in those offerings, you know, as we are probably going to find out in the next couple hours here.
So let's just close the book on this one with a prediction because we're about to get to the spring preview. How low will this go? How low is it final breath, last breath? Jeff, what is your prediction for the opening weekend of this movie?
Bob, I'm going to start it out with 5 million.
Wow. I mean, Clayton, 5 million. Can you go lower? Can this last breath sink lower than 5 million?
Oh, of course it can. I mean, I think this flies itself to the moon for sure, which would be in the four and some change. I mean, I think it's flying itself to the moon for sure.
Wow. All right.
You know what? Save us, Pat. Save us.
I think it could do 6.
Okay.
I think it could do 6. I don't think it could
the
do
savior you were looking for, Jeff.
No, I was looking for 8. I was hoping he was really going to jump the shark with this one and really go up there high, like I'm not going to name names, but some analysts in the industry love to pump these up in their previews just before, just to get the hype up, even though these films have no chance to do that much money.
So people were looking for a lifesaver, and Pat threw out one sort of floaty that was not fully blown up.
I've got a branch. I've got like a short branch that I'm lazily holding out from the shore that has no chance of reaching these drowning actors.
And you're sort of reaching out with it, but like not even fully extended, and with one arm, and then with the other hand, you're on your phone.
Yes. And pretty soon I'm going to take that branch and just start scratching my back with it.
Yeah.
6 million.
Your back, your crack, whatever.
Yeah, my back crack. I get it all. I got the branch. So this is about to bomb. That is going to be the end of the movie winter. But now let's get into spring preview time. So Jeff, your outlook on these next 2 months is that, and it is funny when you bring up spring 2024, Dune, the collab, a Ghostbusters movie that I cannot believe came out last year, but you're totally right. Those are some blockbusters. So let's start at the top, Jeff. Is there a block? We're covering March and April. That's going to be our spring. We're going to stop before Thunderbolts. Is there a blockbuster in these next 2 months?
There are 2 that could be. There are 2 films. That is it. There is the Minecraft movie from Warner Brothers. That's the first week of April. There is a Disney film that we all know about called Snow White, and that comes out in mid-March. Now, say what you will about Disney and what they've done with this and how long this has been on the shelf and what they've done to the little people in this. It's still Disney. It's still one of the classic storyteller machines out there. And this is one of their, wasn't the original made in like 1939, something like that? I mean, this is, if you're talking about doing a live action, this is probably the most time between the cartoon and a live action to ever come out. So there are generations that can't see this because they're dead. I mean, let's just be honest, right? You could have got your grandmas, you could have got your great grandmas to see this. So this is the one movie, as long as it gets decent reviews, it still could be big for Disney. And honestly, the theatrical community needs this one to be big. Minecraft movie, we can get to that. We can dissect that, but have any of us played Minecraft? I haven't.
I've never played Minecraft.
I've seen the toys at Target. I know it's big with a certain generation, but this is no Super Mario Brothers. This is not going to get us to go. This is not going to get Gen X. This is not going to get boomers. So it's up to the people, the younger generations, to make that a hit. And that hasn't been done a lot in Hollywood history. So that'll be interesting. Warner Brothers, it'd be nice if Warner Brothers Animation could get a hit, because we need more animation studios out there. Obviously that kind of product is so hot right now in theaters. So those are the 2 that I pinpointed that really have a chance to monopolize the marketplace, because there aren't any other blockbusters out there. Sorry, Mickey 17. My apologies.
Well, Pat, I mean, those movies, we're going head to head here with those 2 movies. I have Snow White and the Seven Companions, and you have Minecraft.
I have a Minecraft movie for our fantasy box office league.
Yeah.
So let's start with Snow White and these companions. So Jeff, you're deeply embedded in the biz. I mean, we talked about before we went on mic, you're going to CinemaCon in Vegas in a month, and you're going to be right on the in the middle of things. What are you hearing about Snow White in terms of, obviously there's been a lot of production changes over the last few years. The companions at first were little people, then they became digitized, or then they became other actors of different sizes, and now they're digitized, and there's been so much with this movie. Is Disney worried? Do they care? Is the marketing on this about to ramp up in a major way? Like, what is the feeling on the ground for Snow White?
I think because Twitter and X is what it is, they really ramped this up, the wokeism of this. But in reality, I mean, people didn't really want Mufasa, right? Mufasa just hit 700 million worldwide as a prequel, right? This is Snow White. This is a legitimate IP. As long as this movie is good, and we know Disney hammers things out, they go to the think tanks, they get everybody involved. This is a massive production by the entire everybody over in Burbank over there at the Disney lot has their say in this, and they make it sing. And they just keep hammering it until it gets it right. And it'll play all the right notes. And I think people will realize this is going to be a pretty good film. Rachel Zegler, who plays Snow White, right? Like, she's already in the press the last couple of weeks saying all the right things. Go, search her up, see what she's saying now. She's already doing the positive spin for Disney. And this is about where it starts. We are a month out, and you'll keep seeing these positive takes on Snow White as we ramp up to its release in about a month. And we'll start to see Gal Gadot. People don't really remember that she's in this. She was Wonder Woman. She had a pretty big reach on people. And this is Mark Webb who directed this. This guy can direct a film, right? We know that. So this has all the elements. I mean, you sprinkle a little fairy dust on there. This thing has a chance, and I think it probably will be the biggest film of the spring.
Wow. Okay. And this is something that came up on a recent episode that I really wasn't thinking of, that Clayton brought up. Clayton, again, could you remind everyone who is one of the co-writers of this Snow White and the Seven Companions movie?
Greta Gerwig.
Greta Gerwig. Jeff, I mean, either of you guys, is that going to matter? Is she going to do any press for this? Is her sort of post-Barbie popularity going to help this Snow White? I mean, you would think this is her kind of official, not directorial, but it is her next thing after Barbie. It should mean something.
I think that they should do some sort of tie-in here. And I think a funny viral moment, this is better. I think a funny viral moment would be, Greta's talking to somebody, you don't know who it is. And then they pan over, and guess who's playing Grumpy? Noah Baumbach.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's great promotion. I think it's like, I think that'd be funny. I think, let's get College Humor. Let's get Funny or Die on this. This needs to go viral,
Yeah.
And
that
Super
I
Deluxe.
think would be let's get Super Deluxe to make something. Yeah.
Yeah, we need that. I think this is a, break.com. It'll of course get bootlegged onto break.com.
Yep.
And so I think that is something that they could do, but you would feel like it would have happened already.
Yeah. Yeah. If she was going to do any promotion for this, if she was going to drop a viral video on eBaum's World to promote this, that would have happened by now.
Adam Films.
So, of course, Adam. So, Jeff, Rachel Zegler, you mentioned her. She's saying all the right things. This feels like a big deal for her because she had the what's the movie, the Jennifer Lawrence remake? I'm forgetting the name of the franchise that she had a year and a half ago that did really well. The Hunger Games movie. She had the Hunger Games movie was a hit.
I was thinking, are we at the age where there's a Jennifer Lawrence movie getting remade? I was like,
oh man. Wow.
Yeah,
how long have we been in Vegas, Jeff?
So Rachel Zegler had that to hit. She did her Y2K movie that doesn't really matter for her career. Yeah. This Snow White one, it does feel like a lot of this is going to be placed on her because of whatever people were rallying against her for whatever reason months ago in some of her interviews. I feel like Disney, there's something I could see them taking it out on her if this completely craters.
I mean, possibly, but I just think it's already softened. You can tell with the tone they're going with. They're leading with her out there, not really apologizing for what she said, but just saying how people might have misinterpreted what she said, right? And that's the way you get back in the good graces. But honestly, this is just for the media. This is just for Twitter, and those people don't sell tickets. We know that. You know who's going to this? Every woman in the goddamn world is going to go see this film. Look at the schedule. What has been released for women this year? Nothing. Right? What has been even towards the end of last year? What has been released for women? It's just there's nothing out there. Even though we know films like Barbie, Sex and the City, they explode when you market a film directly to women. This is, I mean, Disney Snow White. I don't know which girl didn't watch this growing up. They are going to this film. They don't care what she said on Twitter or X or any social media blasts. This film, and Disney has a good way of doing this. They always soften it. They're going to make it seem very classical, very classy. And you're going to go see this with your kids. There's nothing else out there. That's the bottom line.
Jeff, can I speak to that, the female audience as well here with something that has been on the rise? The rise of the short king. All right. So we're looking at this movie, obviously Snow White, just called Snow White. We know she has companions. We've seen the trailers. We've seen the commercials. I mean, this is the time of the short king. And I think that is going to be something that a couple years ago, they'd be like, sorry, the companions, they need to be over 6 foot. They should be 6'5" at the very least. Now there's more love for the short king. And I think that could really play into this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 7 of them. I agree.
7 Short Kings. Why didn't they call it Snow White and the 7 Short Kings?
Yeah, I agree. We don't need to politicize this any more than it is. Disney knows what they're selling here. They're selling Snow White. They're selling this lady who has 7 companions. Don't all women wish they had 7 companions to make them happy, to make them grumpy, whatever they want in life?
This is wish fulfillment.
They have. Yeah, exactly. And that's what Disney does. They fulfill wishes. Yeah. We want to feel dopey.
Make them call the dog.
Feel sneezy.
Yeah, feel sneezy. Well, sneezy gets in there, and then you got to call Doc.
Yeah, you got to call the Doc. So
because you're afraid, you don't know what that is, what that means.
Yeah. This is Disney doing what they do, and they've done it so many times and made it work. I couldn't bet against them on this, even with all this negative press, supposed negative press.
And you got the short kings for the ladies and the older women.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. These rats, especially the female rats, the little girls, they haven't had a movie geared towards them in I don't know when, because if you think of what the kid movies have been, Sonic, and not to genderdize, but like Sonic is probably skewing a little more boy. Mufasa is. Dog Man, it's right there in the title.
Yeah.
So this is the first, not just for women, but just for little girls movie that we have had since Moana 2.
Yeah.
Moana 2 came out in November. Moana 2 has been on D+ at this point for a while. We need something else. And I think, my God, this is just going to be women who want to go there to get dopey, and then little girls who haven't had a movie for them since Moana 2. The closer we get to this, I agree. This is going to be really big. This is going to be, I think, open 80 million plus big, possibly.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think so too.
And the theater needs that. I mean, again, if we look at this release calendar, and we're talking about films for girls and young girls and little girls, there's not another one until Lilo and Stitch opens in May. So this is the film, and it's just sitting there. We talk about, there's so many Disney bashers out there in social media, but guess what? They're the only studio in town that really plays to men and women. They really do. They try to get everyone. They try to get both sexes consistently to go to the movie theaters. And most studios, it's kind of amazing to think that they don't get it. They do not get it or can't do it, one or the other. And that's just, in this day and age, it's kind of mind blowing that Disney really is the only studio in town that specifically caters to males and females on a consistent basis.
Guys, I want to ask you a question. Just one last thing on Snow White.
Yeah.
Same date, pretty much, March 13th, 2015, a Cinderella, live-action Cinderella came out in 2015. What did that open to? I have it in front of me, so I'm the quiz master here.
Yeah.
What did that open to?
Cinderella. Okay. Clayton, you wanna jump in first?
47.
Okay, Clayton's got 47 as his number for Cinderella 2015.
Wasn't that long ago, man. But the pandemic did eat away at a lot of our brain matter.
Lily James was the star. She was Cinderella.
I'm gonna go 57.
57. Guys, that movie in 2015 opened to $67 million.
Wow. Okay. We were seeing the sevens.
Yeah, we love that 7. Clayton and I both rallied around that 7.
Well, Vegas, baby. Lucky number 11s.
Yeah.
Cinderella's obviously huge star. She's one of the big ones, one of the all-time princesses. But I don't think she's bigger than Snow White. I think reasonable people could argue, but I think Snow White is still a bigger deal than Cinderella. But that movie opening to 67 million, you throw in some sweet inflation.
That's 80. That's at least 80.
80.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pat.
The Price of Eggs gets you to 80 for this movie.
As much as I would love this Snow White to do better, which I do think it is because of inflation, as both you gentlemen mentioned, I do still think that it is Cinderella first, then Snow White, not too far under it, and then sort of far under it, Sleeping Beauty. I think those are I think that's the 3. And I think that's the ranking. But Snow White is not, she's a sniffing distance from Cinderella. Yeah. It is close.
I was looking at who was in that. Okay, Lily James, who I don't think she was that big. Well, she wasn't that big when she was in that, but Cate Blanchett, Helena Bonham Carter were fairy godmother. I was just looking at that, and Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, I would say bigger, more draw because of what they have been in lately than this cast. So I still do, I do agree with Clayton though that if you are ranking them in terms of animated, it is Cinderella, and then right behind it Snow White and Sleeping Beauty down there a little bit, because I have a daughter and I know that's how we watch them. She would ask for Cinderella about 6 times, 5 times for Snow White, and maybe twice for Sleeping Beauty. That's Clayton's dead on there.
Kids don't like to sleep. I mean, who wants a princess that has to sleep?
Yeah,
it's just like the worst thing in the world. It's like bathing beauty. It's like, eat your peas beauty. Yeah, homework beauty. Absolutely. Now, just real quick, I know this is a little I want to go back to Moana 2 really fast, just because this has not dropped on Disney Plus yet, Pat. It has not dropped, and it will not drop until March. And the only reason I want to bring that out is because good for Disney. For the long theatrical window, the PVOD window, and now the streaming window. It's almost like that's the perfect way to do it. It's almost like people will go see a movie in theaters if they have to wait months and months and months. It's almost like you can train people to do that again. Curious.
Yeah, Moana 2 is still in 630 theaters. That probably ends when Snow White comes out.
Yeah, but Clayton's right. I think these movies that are really big, there's so much free advertising week to week in those box office reports. Oh wow, look at Moana 2 holding. If you have a film like that, you change your release schedule, and you do put it on PVOD and you lengthen it out. Now, if a film bombs, I still believe get it out there and get it away from theaters, because we don't want it hanging around. And and the PVOD window can be short because nobody cares. If a film is good and audiences love it, yes, lengthen it out. I'm not saying a year like they used to do in the 80s. Hell, they wouldn't even put it on video. They would just release it in theaters, which was pretty cool. And honestly, it would be cool if someone like Avatar 3 tried something like that, because it could get away with it. It's going to make so much money in theaters this year. 20th Century Fox, guys. Avatar.
There we go.
Come on, babe.
There it is. So, all right. So we all think Snow White's
Laking these out.
So we all think Snow White is going to be huge. So let's talk about the other one, Jeff, that you said could be the other blockbuster of the spring, but you put a question mark on it. A Minecraft movie. This opens on April 4th. So it kicks off April. Of course, I have this in our box office fantasy league. I'm hoping
number one. You took this. This is your number one draft pick.
Yes, it wasn't the number one pick of the draft. I think I drafted fourth, but it is my number one pick because I think this has the high upside. It could absolutely collapse. This is a movie that could be a total failure, but I do think the upside is there. Jeff, give me the upside case first, where this is
all right.
The Super Mario Brothers movie. It won't be that, but give me what is the highest upside of a Minecraft movie?
I mean, that's the thing. It is, again, it's one of the only animated films out there. Ketchup Entertainment is putting out a Daffy Duck and Porky Pig movie, but we all know how that's going to end for Ketchup. So if we think about it, and we have seen how great even Dogman holding week to week animation has just been killing it because there just simply isn't enough animated films out there. And everybody knows Minecraft, whether you played it or not, doesn't really matter. You have an interesting director, and Jared Hess is the director of this. You may remember him from Napoleon Dynamite, Nacho Libre. What a weird choice, right? But for this, it might actually work. That for me is the draw, honestly, is that what is this weirdo going to do with the Minecraft world? And yeah, I'm there for it. So if he can get the hipster audience to show up, it's quite possible. I just, is there a massive trailer out? There's a preview, right? There's a preview out for this. Is there? There even
there's a trailer. I haven't
small. But this is what worries me. This is the concern. We are, it's the first week of April. This is actually CinemaCon is going to come right on before this. So it'll be interesting what Warner Brothers thinks. But usually you start a block. If you have a big film, I remember Super Mario Brothers, even though they knew what they had, they built this up for months. And you saw a lot of advertisements. I didn't really see anything over the Super Bowl, right? There should have been more ads. This has Jack Black, Jason Momoa, right? There should be more buildup to this. So that leads me to believe Warner Brothers is the one who's sort of pumping the brakes on this, because otherwise, wouldn't we? If they really believe in this film, they'd be spending the money to get people interested. And the fact that they're not, that's the one big thing that gives me caution about naming this, the next Super Mario Brothers, or even Super Mario Brothers Light. I do hope. I do think it will have its fans, but again, it has to get some of the adults interested. And I just don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, the Jared Hess situation, when you look at his box office, obviously Napoleon Dynamite 2004 made $44.5 million, which for what that movie was and the budget on that is spectacular. And then 2006 Nacho Libre, I didn't realize this thing domestically made $80 million, right? I was shocked when I looked at that, but here we go. After that, Gentlemen Broncos, $115,000.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Land, well, he was just a producer, he didn't direct that, but then his next directorial movie, 2015's Don Verdeen, $31,000. 2016 Mastermind, something that was put on the shelf for a very long time but came out, $17 million. This guy has made nothing that has made any money at all in 20 years, right? And is there enough adults our age that remember Napoleon Dynamite, that remember he directed a Postal Service video? That those are the people that have to go see this movie to make it something more than just it's crap I'm going to take my kids to. And I'm telling you what, I just don't think it's going to happen. And I agree with you. It is scary that we are not being blanketed with this. Because there's one thing if it's just coming, it's not aimed at us because it's all like kids marketing, stuff like that. When you're talking about Dogman, of course, I'm not going to see 1,000 Dogman, commercials because I'm not watching kids television. This should be all over the place because they are aiming for 4 quadrants with this, and it ain't happening right now.
And when you bring up the Warner Brothers thing, you think of Barbie and what they did for Barbie. Mm-hmm. And it was months and months of outdoor installations. Go visit the Barbie mansion. We're building this thing in this city, and then it's touring to that city, and it was just everywhere. And Minecraft, this is the movie you'd think you could do all that with. Oh, we're gonna put Minecraft blocks in this city, and you could go step inside of a Minecraft castle or whatever the hell Minecraft is. None of us really know what it is, and we shouldn't. It almost should be illegal for us to know too much about Minecraft at our ages. Yeah. But if this was to them a home run movie, there'd be Minecraft stuff in the town square of every city in America. And the blocks would be falling from the sky, crushing people. Right now we got planes falling out of the sky. But if Minecraft was going to open to 150 million, we'd have Minecraft blocks falling out of the sky.
There should be a block that drops out of the sky in Times Square and kills the naked cowboy. Then you have confidence in this movie.
Yes.
And why can't, for all the fires that happen down in LA, why can't we drop Minecraft buildings to replace all those houses that burned down? You know all what I mean?
Celebrities.
Let's do some good here, for the people. Thank you, Warner Brothers. Thank you, Minecraft. But you're right. Even around LA, LA, film capital of the world, I'm seeing more stuff for Sinners, which is a Warner Brothers movie that comes out a couple weeks after Minecraft movie, which could be maybe the third big hit. That would be my other choice, Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler.
That movie looks so insane.
Yeah.
That I hope it does well, but there's a chance that people go see it and they're like, it is an unholy mess. What is
the fuck? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm opening night. Because it just seems so long.
It could be batshit crazy, and I hope it is, and I hope people respond to it. But with those two guys, I got to feel like they came up with something. They went down and dirty, and they made something interesting, at the very least.
But we're seeing more for Alto Nights.
Yes, Alto Nights. Let's hope it gets released. Barry Levinson. And I know Warner Brothers is behind Mickey 17, and they have to promote that. And that's what you're seeing the promotion for right now. But we all know what's going to happen with Mickey 17. Like if it opened over 20 million, it'd be a goddamn miracle. It just would, because it's sci-fi comedy. And that is like that. I mean, Poison. What was Warner Brothers thinking? It's like the worst genre you could ever release in multiplexes, it's such a hard one to nail, sci-fi in general, but then you add the comedy, and Moon already did this, right? And it did it really well. I mean, we can go into this if we want. It is the kickoff, right? Mickey 17 is the kickoff, but man, it is going to be a rough ride, I think, for Robert Pattinson to nail this thing. I hope it opens it over 20, but I have my doubts.
It's like well, I mean, yes. I mean, listen, I love Robert Pattinson. I love the decisions he has made. I feel like, how could you say no to this director and this movie and this big of a swing? Because the guy's got, he's got all the money and the cred, but it's like this guy thought, oh, what's a good voice to do in this big movie is Little Nicky, because people loved Adam Sandler and Little Nicky. This is his Little Nicky voice. I'm so shocked by it. I mean, it is Depp at his most indulgent sort of voice, right? Where Depp was like, hey, I'm just going to be Michael Jackson in this movie now because people love me so much. And I think that's okay if you're doing it in a big blockbuster that people would go see no matter what, because it's an IP. This is Mickey 17. What the F is Mickey 17?
Yeah, it's a hard rated R. It's going to be very long. It'll be lucky, I think, to do Parasite business, honestly.
Yeah. And the budget is way higher than Parasite.
Yeah, it's way higher. and there's no subtitle. Maybe there should be, because that voice gets so high. I don't even know if we can register it. There's a lot of people that, we lose it at a certain point. I don't know that we can understand or even hear half the things he's going to have to say to us.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie, Mickey 17, Clayton, it has something we've talked about before. It has Toni Collette in the movie, who is
Better
one
on
of the great. Well, she's one of the great movie actresses. She's one of the terrible movie trailer actresses. I feel like every movie, we've talked about this before, that Toni Collette is in the trailer, it looks like she is the worst actress on the planet. And then, of course, you see the movie and she's great. And she'll probably be great in this. But
she's also bad on the posters. I got that wrong. She's also bad on movie posters.
She's bad on movie posters. She's bad in movie
for promotion. She's in any sort of advertising. She's terrible. And then in the actual product, you're like, oh, that's right. I really like her. She's really good at what she does.
It is one of those trailers where even if they're all going to be better in the movie, I assume Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, even Robert Pattinson with the little Nicky voice is probably going to be pretty good in the movie. But it's the sci-fi comedy heightened acting thing that plays really rough in a short trailer, where every time you cut to a shot, when it's at the end of the trailer and you're seeing who's in it, they're always standing up and screaming in their like 2-second shot. And I don't know if that's what people want to go see, is everyone heightened getting up and screaming in the trailer. It's
they don't have it's 2 hours and 17 minutes. They couldn't get that under 2. Come on. That's the death knell for me, is that for I'm excited to see it. You guys are going to go see it. I know opening weekend, but the multiplex masses are going to totally check out. Even at 90 minutes, they probably wouldn't even give this thing a shot. I know it has IMAX screens. That's not going to matter.
I will say, though, the person who acquits themselves the best in this trailer is Steven Yeun.
Yes.
He seems to not be screaming. He seems to be playing it at a level that is like, okay, this is a real person in a real thing.
Yeah. Is this a movie that, had it come out, and it's been pushed back, if it had come out in December and was getting a Oscar push and was in that mix of, hey, this is a movie that, let's see, I know if you're watching on YouTube, you saw Clayton just make a disgusted face when I said Mickey 17 Oscar push, but this director's last movie won Best Picture. He won 3 Oscars in his last movie. So anything he puts out now should, in theory, get an Oscar push. And at least if it was in that mix of like, hey, serious Oscar contender, he won Best Picture last time, it's coming out in award season, then maybe that's the buzz for this. But like, this movie coming out in March as just a supposed blockbuster just doesn't feel right for what this movie is.
Well, they knew it wasn't an Oscar movie. I mean, they knew that. So that they weren't going to position it as that, because I think there's nothing actually worse than positioning your movie as an Oscar movie and it getting no Oscars and people saying, what were they thinking to think this was an awards movie?
But if that's what gets some more people to buy tickets, then who cares if it doesn't get Oscar nominations? And
Pat, anybody, if you look at this trailer, it's not an Oscar movie if you know anything about the Oscars. So therefore it would eliminate Oscar people. Like if we saw this and they were pushing this for Oscars, we'd be like, no, we're not stupid.
But his last movie was Parasite.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. It does
matter. He also did Okja on Netflix.
But his last movie was Parasite. His next movie you could absolutely position as a awards player if you release it in November or December.
I like that the original date that they had for this was January. I think that would have been the right time. We only had one movie, Dogman, which opened over 15 million. 16 million the entire month. This would have been perfect for like the second weekend, honestly, of January, where there's nothing out there. You could hold IMAX screens for 3 weeks. Whether it's a hit or not, I don't know if it would have changed anything, but you would have definitely had more playability and had a bigger film in theaters. I feel like January was a waste. outside of Dogman, Den of Thieves 2 opened at 15 million, and everything else was like, 10 million, 11 million, 3 million, 4 million. And we're finding out that, outside of Captain America, February is kind of like that too. So yeah, I do think that they probably should have held it. But if you look at the release calendar, there ain't nothing in March either, outside of Snow White. So the audiences are used to big theaters, like last year when we had Kung Fu Panda 4 and Ghostbusters and Godzilla X Kong. These are big movies, and we usually get a mini summer in March, and we're not getting it this year, guys. I hate to say it, it ain't there. It's just not on the paper there. And Mickey 17 is the start of that spring meltdown. It's like if have you ever heated up one of those Peeps? Have you ever just watched, because you don't want to eat the Peeps, but you just throw them in the fire and they just melt, and it's just disgusting, and all the sugar just gets raw and stuff. And that's what I feel like Mickey 17 is going to be. It's like a melting Peep all over March. It's going to have an okay opening, and it's just going to drop. Like if you wanted to see it, you were going that opening weekend, and nobody else is going to like, oh, maybe I'll go see that Mickey 17. It's been getting that cinema score is a B-. I think that's good. You know what I mean? It's not going to be there. And it's unfortunate. I'm glad Warner Brothers took a chance on this. It looks beautiful. I have the trailer just on repeat now, and it looks like a beautiful film. But that dark comedy, alien invasion, space sci-fi, adventure comedy, fantasy sci-fi, that all those genres together, we know what happens to those films.
Oh my God.
Is there any chance, I mean, Jeff, have you heard just anything from people who've seen this movie? Is there any chance this is great and the audience a recommendation cycle really does happen? Is there any chance it's great and people are like, oh, you have to go see Mickey 17. It's really funny. It's really this. Or have you just heard middling things out of the screenings that have already
I've heard
happened?
I've heard mostly middling things out of previews, and honestly, just not what people were expecting. And you can tell in the trailer, they're not sure how to cut it, because they're like, how do we reach people with this? Let's just throw all this shit out here. I mean, what is Mark Ruffalo doing in this film?
Right.
I don't even know. And same thing with Toni Collette. Like, I get where they're going with it, and his voice is so weird. This has the makings of an apocalyptic failure. You know what I mean? And we've seen this in Hollywood many, many times, when everybody wants this hot new director and they want to bring him over to America. I mean, remember the Hulk? Anybody? Ang Lee's the Hulk. I mean, it happens all the time. Hollywood gets infatuated with these, foreign directors, and they bring them on to something that it doesn't work for anybody, and I feel like this Mickey 17 might be that. I hope it's not. I mean, I enjoy a disaster at the box office. Like, I mean, I love Waterworld. I've loved it since the day it came out, and maybe I'll feel the same way about Mickey 17, and I'll champion it for 40 years, but we're in the business, box office boys are in the business of predicting what will sell to audiences right now. And this just seems like one of the toughest sells in recent memory.
Could Mickey 17, if it bombs at the box office, could it still find a second life as a attraction at Six Flags, at a amusement park? Could there be a Mickey 17, roller coaster? You get pushed into that fiery pit, killed over and over again. Could that be what saves this IP?
God, I wish that we were advanced enough that we could all clone 17 versions of ourselves and have this experience, honestly, and know what death is like to be crushed on a roller coaster. I mean, I would like to know without there being consequences,
Yeah.
So unfortunately, maybe, but you're talking about maybe in the year 2525.
Yeah.
So, 500 years, I think you're right, Pat. If this lasts 500 years, if the society's still here, we might have Mickey 17 ride at Six Flags in 500 years.
I mean,
okay.
So many movies. I mean, the bulk of movies at some point become profitable, whether it takes, a year, opening weekend sometimes, or it could take 100 years. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be profitable at some point, as long as you're able to do those things, and the technology will, be available where you can do the real life Mickey 17 experience, because and IPs never die. So even if this thing bombs, they're going to tack the Mickey 17 IP onto that cloning service where you get to kill yourself.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, that's just going to happen.
Yeah. All right. So
Wikipedia has the budget of this between. I love how they do this sometimes. It's between 80 million and 118 million, somewhere in there. Which again, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. You hope that maybe foreign audiences pick up on this. Maybe international audiences resonate with this film more. God knows, United States doesn't have the taste, I think, that it once had in films.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's just now go chronologically here through these spring weekends. So Mickey 17, we all kind of think is gonna melt like a peep to start off March. Some other movies coming out that weekend. Some that caught my eye is there's a movie called The Senior, starring Michael Chiklis in a real life sports story about someone who became a college football linebacker at the age of 59. Could this resonate in the stacks in Middle America? I mean, Clayton, you're a soot miner, you're of the dirt. Do you want to see this movie, The Senior, about a 59-year-old college linebacker?
This movie is released by Freestyle Releasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Limited release. I was thinking, what are you even talking about? What did Freestyle Releasing? Number one,
co-stars one thing. Co-stars Rob Corddry. So before you continue,
well, there you go. Now
Rob
you got
Corddry's
me.
in this.
Well, I would never call my company Freestyle Releasing, because that makes it feel like, whatever. We're just gonna do whatever with this thing. Like their releases. They did a Left Behind movie,
great,
in 2014. Oh, In the Name of the King, a dungeon tale, right? That's a big one. That's Obi Vol.
Yeah. Was that the Pierce Brosnan movie that was delayed for like 5 years? Or no, that's something else.
That's a different one. No, this is the Ray Liotta, Jason Statham, Uwe Boll release. So, I mean, they have a pedigree. So I might be taking it back. This may make more than Mickey 17. In fact, that's what I'm going to say.
So then let's go to the next weekend, the 14th, because there's just that weekend is a real poo-poo platter of just so much coming out. Novocaine.
Pat, I'm sorry. Can I Freestyle Releasing released a movie in 2009 based on a huge bestseller. I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. So they are the company that released I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. Max Tucker, voice of a generation, voice of our generation.
Yeah.
And so, Freestyle doing God's work.
And don't forget Bottle Shock the year before that with Chris Pine. This was when Freestyle was at its height. And so if you remember in 2008, 2009, Freestyle was actually sort of working up to be a legit distributor. They fell off very quickly after I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. They really didn't put much out. And what they did put out were massive failures. This feels like a reincarnation of Freestyle because, I've since the pandemic, I've heard Freestyle coming out. They're not even on a release calendar at Exhibitor Relations because they can't consistently put out product, right? And so I don't even know if this is the same people at Freestyle. Maybe they bought. Remember how Canon went through all these different buyers, and you weren't sure what a Canon release was back in the day. Canon release was just like one film mobster after another buying the label and then putting it out as a Canon film in the early 80s. Freestyle feels like that now. It's like, okay, which Mexican mafia member bought it and now wants to try their hand at releasing films. That's what The Senior feels like to me. Like, where did this come from and why is it even in existence anymore?
I buried the lead. They also released Delgo, one of the biggest bombs of all time.
What year was that?
2008.
And that was it. Okay. Bottle Shock. Yeah. Delgo. I mean, they did have they had a monster movie back in, what was that? 2004, 2005, something like that. They had it wasn't it a Korean import, and they did pretty well with it. I think that was Freestyle's like big hit. They were in like the top 5 with this Korean or Asian monster movie. I just can't remember the name of it.
Is this right now the most amount of time that anyone has ever spoken on or off mic, but definitely on mic, about freestyle releasing? Has there ever been any recorded conversation about freestyle releasing longer than this last 3 minutes on the BO Boys?
I don't think so. And I'm going to posit something here that, we've been looking for sort of, how do we do a spinoff? How do we do a limited series? Like what is going to be the focus of a BO Boys spotlight limited series? And I think it's got to be the films of freestyle releasing.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to dig into here. I mean, when you look at this rogues gallery, I mean, they put out the Meet the Blacks, The Collector.
Guys, I found it. Dragon Wars, D Wars 2007.
Yeah, 10.9 million. Yeah, D War. I mean, look at this. This is just a cornucopia. Me and Orson Welles. They really have put out such a crazy, kaleidoscope of failed and partially failed and semi-successful releases. And the senior just feels like another addition to this Rolodex.
Guys, Oogie Love in the Big Balloon Adventure is also a freestyle release.
Is it?
Yes, which is
not
the worst
in this list.
It's on this one. This is on Wikipedia under
This is why we need to do the deep dive documentary series. Because to really get to the bottom of freestyle
after that
releasing.
they were a part of God's Not Dead, but it looks like they took 2 years off, and then they got into Left Behind and Woodlawn. So they went Christian after Oogie Loves, because what else could they do after that? Was one of the biggest failures of all time. Forget Delgo was bad. Oogie Loves it's like the opposite of Titanic. It usually, is the exact.
Usually a studio has one Heaven's Gate. United Artists had Heaven's Gate, and that was their Heaven's Gate. Freestyle releasing seems to have about 11 or 12 Heaven's Gates.
Yes.
I Serve Beer in Hell is their Heaven's Gate, but also so is Delgo. It's one of the. This is going to be the BO Boys big award-winning side production. This is our serial. Is the films of freestyle releasing, and
this is great. I can't wait for that episode. This is
Jeff, pick the movie you would like to be the guest on to talk about, because you're going to get first dibs because we came up with this idea while you were on mic.
I mean, honestly, I would love to chat about Oogie Loves for sure. Maybe even replay some of the songs. It's not like anybody's going to sue us, because nobody wants those rights anyways. Does it even exist? I'll bring out where you can find to watch it, if there is any place. Some collectors might have a DVD of it still. That might be worth 99 cents on eBay. I will do a deep dive into that.
I love this. I love this idea. It's a great idea.
So I think this also means we all have to be 3 of the few people who will see in very limited release The Senior on Friday, March. What was it, March 7th?
Yeah, so March 7th.
We will see that possibly instead of Mickey 17. So let's, like I said, move on now to the following week. A lot of movies are coming out. This is a real quantity situation. You got Novocaine, which is Jack Quaid as his old reliable character, where he's either the hero or the incel, and this one I think he's the hero. You got Black Bag, which is a Steven Soderbergh thriller with Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. You got the movie you mentioned before, Jeff, a Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which is coming out through Ketchup Entertainment, not through Warner Brothers. And you got Opus, which is the latest in the line of indie sort of the menu movies. This one stars Iowa Debris, John Malkovich. It's like Pussy Island. What was the actual name of Pussy Island? Don't
Blink
Blink.
Twice. Blink Twice.
Yeah. And so it's like a Blink Twice, except instead of a rich guy, it's a former pop star is the guy who's going to turn out to be a killer. So all those movies are coming out on the 14th. Is there any, in your mind, potential breakout, Jeff, for these movies? Can anything...
I'll say
any
this.
big buzz on any of these?
I'll say Paramount at least is spending money on Novocaine. People know this movie exists. They, at least in LA, it's kind of taken over some real estate, and they are running a lot of ads for it. In case you missed Companion with Jack Quaid, because he was the star of that too. You know, Jack Quaid is having his moment. You know, and like the early winter and spring, nobody's going to notice, you know, unfortunately. You know, this movie, if it opens to what Companion did, I'll be surprised. It's just, again, R-rated, weird, hyper violence that would have been huge in the 90s, selling to Steven Seagal fans. Like, God, if Steven Seagal was in a Novocaine movie in the 90s, are you kidding? 32 million opening. You know what I mean? Like, this concept is great 20 years late. And Looney Tunes, like, there's a reason Warner Brothers didn't, I mean, they didn't Coyote and Acme this film, but they might as well have selling it to Ketchup Entertainment, which, again, you guys, this opens in 2 weeks. And does anybody know this film exists? And these two characters are legends. Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. They may have picked the worst two stars, but they're still stars. And you're just drenching them in knockoff ketchup. You know, it's not Heinz we're dealing with here. We're dealing with like the crappy ketchup you find at like a hot dog vendor, because it's like they got it so cheap, man. And you guys are on the streets of New York. You know how it is, right?
There's hot dog carts everywhere.
Yeah, what are they? They're not serving name brand. It's stuff that came out of the gutters in New Jersey, you know, and they ship it in, or it's coming from, you know, I don't know that they make horrible ketchup in Mexico, but I know Canadian ketchup's really good. And I have to imagine this is like an offshoot of weird Mexican ketchup just doused over the Looney Tunes universe. And it makes me sad, honestly. And when you look at this trailer, you're like, this should have just come out straight to Max and everybody would have been happy. So it's going to be sad to see a big Looney Tunes movie bomb, honestly.
Is Bugs Bunny in this The Day the Earth Blew Up? Or is he?
No, Bugs is not in this.
Bugs would not stoop to this. No.
Wow.
But like Marvin the Martian should have been in this for sure. If the day the Earth blew, right? Like, wasn't that his whole thing? I'm going to destroy the Earth, right? And
he's got to be in it. Marvin the Martian this is
he is alien. In it. I don't know. Maybe we should watch the trailer.
Well, I'm looking at the voice cast, and there's someone playing Petunia Pig. There is a character, Peter McNichol, is playing the Invader. So there might not be a Marvin the Martian in this alien-centric Looney Tunes movie.
How does that happen? This is awful, guys.
Here's oh, sorry. You go, Jeff.
No. Finish this up, because it's just.
I just think in general this week is sad, because the thing about it is it's what we want theaters to do and what we want companies to do, which is release diverse sorts of movies, right? Black Bag, adult thriller, right? Day the Earth Blew Up, kids animated movie, The Last Supper, church bus film, Novocaine, teens and 20-somethings, early 30s action movie, Opus, arty film that is going to make, not a huge amount of money, but it's for the people who have like taste, the A24 bros and broettes. The problem is all these movies look absolutely terrible. And I think that's the problem. They're all going to tank, because even if some of them were terrible, but they were going to make money, that's fine.
Yeah.
They all look terrible, and they all are going to tank.
And the other dirty little secret about Hollywood, and you guys know this, is when you do release, there are 5 wide releases coming out this weekend. And when that happens, it's because none of them have got any foothold on the industry at all. They're not going to sell enough tickets. They're not going to get into enough theaters. So this is like a dumping ground this March. This spring it's a veritable dumping ground. The whole month is. If you look at these releases, you're like, what are these films doing in theaters? Honestly, taking up all these screens. I think it comes to like, is a real problem in Hollywood right now is making good films, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the creators, and when I talk about creators, I just mean like writers, directors that work in both theatrical and in streaming. Well, guess what, guys? A lot of the great ones are still in streaming. They're producing great TV shows, seasons upon seasons, and so they're not working in film, not, at least not exclusively. And this is what happens when that happens, is that when streamers are paying them more than studios will, we're getting a weekend with 5 wide releases that just don't really appeal to wide audiences, you know? So it's a part of, I think, of the larger problem here.
Yeah, it is also that even if these movies are bad, I mean, one of them is a Steven Soderbergh movie, so you know he's a real director. Obviously,
well, it looks like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith that they were like, let's make it as boring as possible.
It could definitely be bad, and I get that this is not a premise that is catching maybe any of us, definitely not Clayton. But the other thing is, there's just no promotion for any of these movies. Like a weekend like this in the 90s or even the 2000s, all of these movies would, at least because people watch television, there'd be a lot of TV commercials. There'd be more awareness for the 90s version of these 5 movies coming out on a weekend back then than there is now. Like, there's just no there's no marketing campaigns. And I know last episode we had Scott Mendelson, and he's always very don't blame the marketing campaign when people don't go to a movie. But there is just no awareness of something like Black Bag. There just isn't. Yeah. And you would think it's a movie with recognizable actors. You put out enough commercials and posters, people would know this exists. And that's just not happening. These are all just like being fully dumped.
Yeah, because people don't really go to Steven Soderbergh movies for his name anymore. He shoots a film on his iPhone in 2 weeks, and he puts another one out and edits it. And you're right, Clayton. I just find most of his movies are very slow and very boring, honestly. Like, it's just, they're made for like Apple TV Plus. Yeah, I would spend a night watching it on Apple TV Plus. I'm not going out of my way to go to a theater, even if I have AMC A-list, to watch this. I'm going to go to Novocaine if I have A-list, you know? Mm-hmm. Black Bag is on nobody's radar, and a Looney Tunes movie. It looks, I mean, let's be honest, it looks so streaming that I think even though there hasn't been an animated film in a long time, I don't think parents are going to take their kids. They're like, no, there's something else on. You know, we're not going to waste $50 to go see this film.
I mean, talk about what you can see at home. I mean, there's whole channels on satellite TV that are just old Looney Tunes cartoon. Yeah. I mean, there's just like so much of that. You do not have to go to the theater to see Looney Tunes anything.
Yeah, not this one especially. And they chose this to sell over Coyote vs. Acme. I really feel like someone legit might have bought that film and put it out. I mean, even a rival studio like Paramount, or someone who doesn't have enough. Warner Brothers is the one who doesn't have enough animated content, and they're the one who didn't release it. It doesn't make any sense for Warner Brothers not to release that film. That was such a blunder.
Give it to our boys Freestyle.
Yeah,
they'll know what to do with Acme.
Yeah, you saw what they did with Delgo and Ooey Loves.
So, okay, so the 14th is going to be a true dumping ground, and we all think Opus doesn't have a chance of doing even like A24 fake horror, upper.
They set this,
mid-level.
They set this for a wide release. This has like 2.5 million written all over it, and then A24 moves on to Death of a Unicorn 2 weeks later.
I am so. What are they? Lionsgate? Is A24 Lionsgate all of a sudden? This is what I'm seeing here. Is that in the past few months, in the past like year or so, A24 has lost so much shine. I mean, you think they would be celebrating because Snivel War, I'm sorry, my apologies, did so well. They pivoted into bigger budget filmmaking. That's what they wanted to do. And now they're releasing, listen, I went and saw Y2K. Me and Pat went and saw Y2K. Surprisingly, we enjoyed it, right?
Yeah. Fred
But
Durst saved it for us.
this Unicorn, Opus, are these the movies you want that brand name on? That's the problem with A24 right now, is that it used to be a seal of like approval. You know, it used to be something where back in the day when you still bought record albums, you'd go and you'd say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this Sub Pop album because Sub Pop never misses." Well, here's the thing. A24 misses constantly. Neon is breathing down its neck. And that is bad for a company like this because they earn so much money on cachet and they are losing it. They're losing it because then you also see some movies that came out for other distributors that people think are A24 movies and then they're not. And you're like, oh, okay, that crappy movie's not an A24 movie. That's bad if people are thinking that these crappy movies are A24s.
Yeah, I do like their, we all know that they tried to pivot and Civil War was a nice size hit for them last spring. And they're coming back with Warfare this year, which is from one of the creators of that. I don't think it'll be as big. It looks a little smaller and doesn't have as much to say. We've seen war films quite a bit. We kind of know what goes on there. Alex Garland is a co-director with Ray Mendoza on this one. And that I think that drops the same weekend that Civil War did in April, that second week of April. That's probably their biggest chance of a hit this spring. Again, I don't think it'll be as big as Civil War. But then, you guys, you'll love this because remember, the last week of April, they have The Legend of Ochi coming out, right? Which is this weird creature. Like it so wants to be E.T. They want you to remember, Batteries Not Included, all these great little 80s films that have these weird creatures in it, right? And Legend of Ochi, it's such a ripoff to those films. It's not an homage. It is a straight ripoff. And you're right. What is A24 doing? Why are they doing films like this? Is like a Relativity release. This is not an A24 release.
They are losing money by releasing these sorts of movies because it takes away the must-see-ness of their product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 21st, we talked about Snow White. That's really going to finally give us something in the spring, but it's also the weekend of the Alto Nights from Warner Brothers. De Niro playing two parts. He's playing two different guys who, again, we have to stress, they're not twins, and they also don't seem that different from each other. It is usually when an actor plays two parts, it's because he's playing twins or he's playing two characters who are so different, they get to be two wildly different performances. De Niro instead is playing two unrelated guys who basically talk pretty much the same. Is that a draw? Is De Niro playing two parts, playing two guys who are very similar but are not twins? Is the insanity of that going to be a perverse draw? And can you draw on perversity to a level that makes up for, this is supposedly a $90 to $100 million budgeted movie?
Oh, geez. I'll answer that with this. Is Robert De Niro still a draw? Did you guys know that Robert De Niro had a film come out this last weekend called The Comeback Trail? Remember this one that was done like 4 years ago? It was complete. Tommy Lee Jones, Robert De Niro. It was released by Variance Films. And they just told me the week before that it was going to be out. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I forgot about the film. Okay, you guys are putting it out. They didn't even release box office numbers on it. Wow. So, yeah. Is Robert De Niro a draw? Fuck no, he's not a draw anymore. So Warner Brothers spent all this money, and obviously it's not an awards play. Look where they're putting it. They're burying this thing in the peak meltdown of Marches that Hollywood has ever seen. Alto Nights is just going to continue that melting for Warner. Warner Brothers is going to have a rough March. They might as well have released Coyote vs. Acme this March because it would have done a hell of a lot better than what they have lined up.
Wow.
How big do you think the tax write-off would have been for Alto Nights to put it in the vault with the day that Clown Pride, Glitterati?
Yes. They should have, and they still might.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's going to be released. I just don't believe it. I've barely seen any advertising around LA. And it comes out in less than a month now.
I have seen trailers for it in movies that ahead of movies I've recently seen. The trailer did play ahead of The Monkey at my Nighthawk here in Brooklyn. So I think it's happening. Although, listen, we always want everything to come out in theaters, but a last minute pulling of Alto Nights and throwing it in the vault with The Day the Clown Cried would be a fascinating story to cover. And it would be fascinating to see De Niro's reaction to being thrown in the vault with Acme versus Coyote.
Yeah, De Niro would go into the vault, I think, with the film and never come out again, which would be cool too. It'd be fun to see.
And boys, this same weekend, we've got Magazine Dreams, Briarcliff Entertainment, hot off their Oscar noms. Another movie with divisive characters in it, if to say the least. Not the character in the movie, but the character, who is starring in the movie.
Mr. Majors.
Mr. Majors. That is interesting. Limited, so we'll see. It's not on the schedule for a wide release, but who knows?
Yeah, I think interest will be there, but Briarcliff doesn't spend any advertising, so nobody's going to actually know it's in theaters. Like they have my dead friend Zoe coming out this weekend. It's in 840 theaters. Did you guys even know that? No, nobody knows that. I'm on a select email group, so I know that, but nobody fucking knows what this movie is, and it comes out in 840 theaters this Friday. I'm sorry, guys, 780 theaters. So but that's still that is a wide release. It's a moderate wide release. They haven't advertised it at all. I had to look it up today to see I looked at the poster. I'm like, that's what a Briarcliff release looks like. Okay, and so that's what Magazine Dreams is.
Chris Klemmer does not have to see my dead friend Zoe. So Klemmer, you do not have to do that. You do not have to see that this weekend. Go see Last Breath.
And the other thing I'd mention for the 21st, there is a movie called McVeigh from the Decal Distribution Company. And it is a fictionalized biopic about Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber. Any breakout potential there, Joe?
God.
I mean, look at this cast. This supporting cast. I don't know who Alfie Allen is, who's the lead. Pat, this movie has Tracy Letts, king of physical media, and of course, great actor, playwright, etc., etc. But we know he loves his DVDs and his Blu-rays. And Brett Gelman.
Okay, interesting. Brett Gelman is Terry Nichols in the movie McVeigh. That is some counter programming to Snow White for sure. That is, that is classic counter programming. The little girls and the women, they're all flocking to Snow White. And then for the freak shows and the psychos and the scum of the earth, which, not said derisively, all audiences are equal. You got Brett Gelman starring in McVeigh. So that is counter programming. Love to see that from Decal. So after that, end of the month, 28th, we got that Death of Unicorn. I think we talked about that. A24 just kind of on the decline right now. I mean, one thing on Death of Unicorn, Jenna Ortega is the star. This is Jenna Ortega. This is the star and the head writer of Wednesday. This is the co-star of Beetlejuice, which was gigantic last year. Is she enough to just get audiences in at a level above your typical A24 phony horror movie?
Oh, it just listen, this movie is
and Ant-Man's in it.
Paul
Rudd's in it.
Listen, we all like Paul Rudd, but he is not a butts in the seats guy. Jenna is closer to butts in the seats, but I gotta tell you, this looks so. I guess this is more my personal opinion. So I cannot imagine this having wide appeal. I just cannot imagine it. Horror comedy again, which is really hard sell. the unicorn angle, the trailers have been really terrible. I just feel like this is going to be a disaster, honestly.
Yeah, I think when you looked at this trailer, and I've watched it in theaters, as you guys have, with audiences, and they all look at each other like to say, this is a fake trailer, right? This isn't a real movie. That's the vibe I get every time I watch it. I hear the whispers of da 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 da. And honestly, A24 should make just fake trailers for these weird films that they want to release, and that's it. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Like, it could be like music videos or just viral content. Hey, A24 is coming out with Death of a Unicorn, ha ha ha, and we got all these people in it, but it's actually only a trailer. Like, that to me is genius. And that's probably, they get these ideas in their head, and they should probably just make trailers that go viral and just work off that, and then make real films that people actually want to see, because that's where, Pat, I think you're right. They just, their value has gone down so much that they're just known for now. It's almost like, oh, here comes a weird genre defying film from A24, instead of, it used to be, here comes a really interesting, thought-provoking movie from A24, but they wanted to separate themselves from that and try to go more mainstream. And if maybe this is just growing pains for A24, but man, this looks like a very painful one.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have a Jason Statham movie coming out at the end of March. That is from the director of The Beekeeper. This is from True Psycho David Ayer. And it's co-written by Sylvester Stallone. It's a working man starring Jason Statham, David Harbour, Michael Pena. So you're getting what was the cop movie that they were both in? David Harbour and Michael Pena, Jake Gyllenhaal movie. They were in a David Ayer cop movie.
End of Watch.
End of Watch. So we're getting a mini End of Watch reunion. A working man. I haven't seen the trailer for this. The Beekeeper, we probably had 2 or 3 months of seeing that incredible trailer. So psyched for that movie. I've yet to see anything for a working man, and we're just exactly a month away.
Pull up the poster. It's beautiful. Statham is just sitting there going to take a dump on you with a sledgehammer. This saves March for me. I honestly, I can't wait to go to the theater, munch on some popcorn, and watch him just kill like 30 or 40 people. You can't stop Statham. He will shit on your head, man. What more needs to be said?
He is in a squatting position on the poster. Let me just read the premise of this movie of a working man. Levon Cade, an ex-Royal Marines commando, leads a peaceful life as a construction worker. However, Levon is forced to use his old set of skills to find his boss's teenage daughter, who had been kidnapped by human traffickers, and soon uncovers a conspiracy of corruption and government agents' involvement in human trafficking.
Yes. That's what the world needs. That's what we need right now, is someone who stops the human trafficking. Who better than Statham to smash it out?
Find government corruption. He's playing a working man. He's a construction worker. So this is David Ayer, who made The Beekeeper. He's remaking The Beekeeper as his next movie. Instead of a beekeeper, he's a construction worker. Instead of scamming old ladies till they kill themselves, it's human trafficking. It's still government corruption. So he's remaking that movie. That, again, the issue is, why haven't the three of us been beaten over the head with awareness for this movie? Because we were for The Beekeeper.
Yeah. I think it's coming. I think that honestly that MGM, who's putting this out, they don't spend a lot, and when they do, it's like 2 weeks out. So let's wait until March 14th, and they'll just start blitzing. It'll be blitzing on all the March Madness stuff, because this is a dude's film. Mm-hmm. So all the March Madness, all the NCAA basketball games, this is going to be the trailer that is just Beekeepers us. It's going to be everywhere. So just wait for it. I really do think MGM has something here. Well, it's not $100 million film. It's not a $70 million film, but man, it's a hard $50 million earner. Yeah. And it's going to earn every penny of that, because it's going to be exactly what action audiences want.
Here's where a lot of the promotion is going to take place, guys. Next to the punch clock. We're going to be seeing promotional materials for this movie next to all the punch clocks in America. I know I'm going to be seeing it. I'm gonna be punching in and out and looking at his Punim and being like, you know what? I eat shit 24/7.
Yeah.
Right? We all do. We're all working men. And we have people like Statham that can do the things that we can't do. And that, I mean, I'm there. And that's the thing is you don't really need the working man network will grunt and they'll know, it's like the word of mouth. We're not going to be gossiping about it, but we're going to be like, working man, nod. There you go. That's the word of mouth for this movie. That's all you need. And then you take a bite of your sandwich.
Sometimes sometimes the tip of the hat. That's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. Hey, this guy knows.
Yeah. It's time to go to the working man and not.
Could this be the second biggest opening weekend of March? If number one is, I think we all think definitely Snow White, could a working man open bigger than Mickey 17, which could end up being like Mickey 11 or Mickey 12, Alto Nights, which could be single digits, Looney Tunes movie. Is there a chance Working Man opens to 15 and is the second? I mean, that's a rough March. That's the thing. That's a rough March, but it's possible at this point.
What did Beekeeper open with?
Beekeeper, I think, opened with 14 and a half or 15.
16.5. Yeah. 16.5. Yeah, you're right. Based on that number, if it can hit Beekeeper numbers, because if let's be honest, if Mickey 17, I could see Mickey 17 at like does 15.2 million. You know what I mean? Like that's a possibility for Mickey 17.
Oh, I think this could Charlie's Angel. I think this could fly with the Angels for sure.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Working Man. I hope that's the case. I hope we are about to get beaten over the head with a Working Man promos, because the Beekeeper was so well liked and did so well. You would hope that a follow-up with the same director, same star, basically same premise, should do
brutal vengeance.
Yeah. So hope that's the case. I hope this is all over basketball, all over metal lunch pails in the next couple of weeks. So then we talked about it. We're starting off April with
there's also isn't Universal's Woman in the Yard is still set for March 28th, right? Blumhouse.
Tell us about that.
I don't know anything about that. That's what I'm saying. Like, and here's the other thing. Like, when did Blumhouse become the horror studio that really, like, people didn't really like Wolfman, right? Woman in the Yard is the most like, why not just call it Kid Who Melts in the Backseat of the Car? Like I mean, I love horror. You guys love horror. When have we gotten to the point where we're making a film called The Woman in the Yard or Swimming Pool or whatever that last one was that they like? It's just where's that energy? Where's that horror vibe energy of just calling a film, fuck you up? I would rather it call it that than Woman in the Yard. The Woman in the Yard. Oh, I can't wait to see that film. Like, are you guys kidding me with this? What is this? What is this trend? It's awful.
Now I'm going to throw something out there. What if it's Yard B? You know what I mean? Like, you had Night B, right? That wasn't a horror movie. What about if it's Yard B?
Okay.
Right?
You're censoring yourself.
I'm censoring myself because I wouldn't use that word, right? But that's going to get people's attention. Like, what's this bee doing in my yard? Right? Because we all love the bee in Apartment 23. We all love that show. Great hit show that was on for 10 seasons. Yard bee. Who wouldn't go see Yard bee? What's this bee up to in my yard?
Right.
Well, the same people didn't see Night Bee though. Night Bee was, nobody saw that. Nobody even is watching Night Bee on Hulu right now.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a turnoff when you add, but you look at this poster, it's like the woman she's just sitting there. It's not even a cornfield. It's not even a yard. She's in a field. It's actually the woman in a field. That's not a yard.
Yeah, that's too big of a yard. Yeah, most people don't have that big of a yard.
That's not a yard.
Yeah.
So that's even wrong. Even that is wrong.
And she's sitting in a chair. She's not. She doesn't seem to be moving towards you. She's like found the spot where she's gonna stay, and doesn't seem like a imminent threat because she's sitting. People who are sitting usually are not that threatening to you.
And it said that the tagline is "Don't let her in." Right. Well, but she's not even close to my yard. She's somewhere in some field somewhere. You know.
Right.
Don't let her stand up would be better.
Yeah. It's just, this is like, I don't know. Again, Blumhouse films they aren't what they once were, and horror's had a pretty difficult time already this year. You can only hope that they made this for 10 million maybe, and if that's the case, it'll make some money. But where's the Get Out? Where are the horror films that make over 100 million? That come out of nowhere. That's what I want. I want more of those that really excite people. I can't see this exciting anybody, really.
Now we'll have to ask our audience to actually look this up, because we're not going to be able to put this image into the actual video. But it's like, what if this was called Woman in the Chair, and the tagline was "She stands, you die"? Now that's a movie, right? Because this woman's in your yard, you just lock the door. But if she's sitting in a chair and then you have to make sure she doesn't stand up, how do you do that?
Right.
That's intriguing.
Right. Then that's a situation where you need
to interact.
You need your fat friend to sit on her lap. You go down to the billiards club, you find your fattest friend, you say, "Roy, I need you to sit on someone's lap in my yard, because if she stands, I die."
Yeah.
And Roy is like, "Great, point me to this woman in a chair.
Chair
I
B.
need to sit." Yeah. Point me to the chair B. So we start off April. We talked about the Minecraft movie. Hopeful on that one, but a little doubtful. And then nothing else really coming out that first weekend in April. Minecraft movie really does have some runway. I mean, there's a Lionsgate movie called Freaky Tales. There's something called Hell of a Summer from Neon with Finn Wolfhard. Finn Wolfhard, I think, is in a few movies. Wait a second, guys.
Is this his directorial debut?
Hell of a Summer is a movie directed by Finn Wolfhard. Jeff, do you know anything about this Finn Wolfhard directed film? Adam Pally is one of the co-stars, so you got that seal of quality there. It's an Adam Pally film.
There's a trailer for this.
I mean, honestly, I just know what Neon had put out. They put out a couple little pressers on it. It looks fun, honestly. Like, I hope that it becomes a hit, because it's supposed to be a horror throwback, like those Friday the 13th films. And I mean, if you look at the poster, it says "Pack your body bags." I mean, come on. It's a great poster too, actually. I hope this catches on, and it's possible with how successful, like you said, Neon has been recently. They might be able to conjure up a hit with this thing. Freaky Tales, though, that weird Lionsgate film from actually Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who directed that $1 billion film, right? Didn't they do The Marvels?
They directed The Marvels. Wait, did they do Captain Marvel too, or just The Marvels?
I mean, Captain. Yeah, I think they did
just
the
Marvels.
One, right? Yeah,
no, I mean, sorry, just Captain Marvel.
Just Captain Marvel. So they did a $1 billion film. Is this their follow-up? Have they done anything since? Maybe they did do one film since, but this is such a weird. Pedro Pascal is in this. Look at the poster of this Freaky Tales too. It looks kind of like, honestly, like this Hell of a Summer is in the same weird horror comedy genre, and they're competing against each other. I don't know how wide Lionsgate is going with Freaky Tales, but I know Neon is going wide with Hell of a Summer.
There is a trailer for Freaky Tales.
Okay.
And it looks pretty terrible. And it looks like something that Pedro Pascal would have done 6 years ago.
Yeah. And maybe it was done 6 years ago.
I mean, it's possible, because this is not the sort of, I mean, it would make sense that they would release this movie now because of Fantastic Four, The Last of Us, his great SNL, hosting and being on the 50th. This smacks of this was shot in like 2019.
Well, guys, I will. This movie, Freaky Tales, filming wrapped on January 12th, 2023. So we are now 2 years past when filming wrapped on this movie. So definitely Pedro Pascal has had a lot happen in the last 2 years since he wrapped this movie. This is a real on the shelf leftover movie here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll probably only get it into maybe 800 theaters. I think theaters will choose Hell of a Summer over it because it has way more going for it. Finn Wolfhard, I mean, is obviously like for the younger generation that they really like this guy, and I think most people do. And he's directing a horror film that sounds fun. I hope that Neon surprises with this one, and maybe it tops Minecraft movie.
So
Minecraft bottoms out. 18 million debut for Minecraft movie.
Yikes. So the next weekend, I mean, tell us a little more, Jeff, about Warfare, because you brought that up as Alex Garland is the co-director of this movie.
Yeah, and it does look very. I mean, it's your typical on the ground, in the face. You're right there in the scenes. Will Poulter is one of the guys, the army rats, and you don't really recognize most of these other guys, and that's kind of how they want it. Everybody's dusty and dirty, and they get in and get out, and it's a real you were there mission. This is, like I said, probably A24's best chance. This is more like Civil War. This definitely follows that trajectory, like a mid-range budget, a mid-range hit. They could have some success here with this one. I think instead of Civil War, I wouldn't call it a war movie. This is more of a war movie. We haven't had one of those in theaters. Like, that genre hasn't been in theaters for a while. This could make a little noise, I think. I think A24 actually has this in a good spot. There's that movie, Christopher Landon's Drop. I think it's another Blumhouse film, right? Never a good sign when Universal's releasing Blumhouse films 2 weeks apart. It's just like, that means Woman in the Yard is being thrown under the doormat or taken to the back of the shed, and then they're going to put this one out.
Woman Behind the Shed, that's even better.
Yeah.
Woman Behind the Shed
is way better. Yeah, everybody loves Behind the Shed. Or and then The Amateur with 20th Century Fox. Just 20th Century is dropping The Amateur, which they only have 3 films a year now, whereas 20th Century Fox used to release like 14 to 16 a year. Once Disney bought them, that came crashing to a halt. They still haven't upped their production, even though they're dropping Avatars. This is a real interesting film, I think. Honestly, for that reason, though, is 20th Century hasn't dipped into any genre films in a while. This is an action genre film that what's his name stars in.
Rami Malek.
That's him.
Oscar winner.
Yes, Oscar winner. And honestly, it looks good. It looks like his version of Jason Bourne. I hope, again, this is one of those films that I hope surprises this spring. And if it does, Rami could move up the ladder in Hollywood, but also 20th Century could realize, and Disney could realize de facto, that, hey, we can make these mid-budget films and they can be a success. So if you want to go to one film, honestly, this spring, go to The Amateur, because we need Disney to drop bucks into these mid-range films. So maybe we can get Hollywood Pictures back. Maybe we can expand what 20th Century used to do. And that's a lot of films missing from the marketplace when Disney bought 20th Century Fox.
And maybe Rami Malek might have a little slight, not heat, but just a little warmth from being an Oppenheimer last year. It sort of like reminds people that he exists. So I think that could carry over a little bit to this movie.
So we talked about Sinners already, April 18th, and we got Jeff and I's sort of take on it. Pat, what is your take on Sinners, April 18th?
I mean, this is the other one that could be really big in the spring. I mean, it's people want this in the sense that Ryan Coogler finally getting to do a movie again outside of the MCU, because his last 2 movies were the Black Panther movies, right? He hadn't done a non-MCU movies in about 4 years at this point. So I think people really want this. They love him and Michael B. Jordan teaming up together. The poster looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
It's supernatural horror, but It's not. It doesn't seem like it's a comedy. It seems like it's going to be a lot going on, but it is not a winky wink movie. It's not The Monkey. I think
No.
this could be really, really big, especially if it's coming off of just 2 months of everything other than Snow White kind of underperforming.
Yeah.
I think this is a movie that if Warner Brothers is gonna put all its chips on this, then I think they are hoping they could get this to be like a 35 million plus opening weekend type of
I
movie.
agree. I
mean, a movie that has a star that people like and a director that is good.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody who you could be like, I'm going to give it a flyer because of Ryan Coogler, because I trust that he can do something really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
because
hand it to
all of
Warner
his
Brothers.
genre stuff has been really great.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he had, the first Black Panther, the Creed movie. I mean, he does, he does what he can with what he has, and he's now let's give him a chance to do something crazy. I love that.
And this is like, I mean, Mickey 17 has 17 Robert Pattinses, but Michael B. Jordan plays twin brothers in this. So there's
he's
two.
Alto Knighting it.
Yeah.
Well,
so
not
there
really,
there are two Michael B. Jordans in this, double the fun.
And these are all Warner Brothers movies. What do you think got Into the Water at Warner Brothers, where all of their spring releases are actors playing multiple versions of themselves?
You guys, that's a whole nother B.O. Boys episode, I think. That's insane, actually.
Yeah. And I is that why they sent the Looney Tunes movie to Ketchup Entertainment, because Porky Pig only played one version of himself, and Warner Brothers wanted Porky Pig to play both Porky Pig and Polly Pig or something like that, and Porky refused to do it.
There is something there. I will hand it to Warner Brothers though, because they spent $90 million on this thing, and Ryan Coogler can demand a budget like that, and he can write an original screenplay set in the 1930s, supernatural horror film, and I think they're going to have a lot of success, probably more success than any of their other films, definitely more than Mickey. Definitely more than Alto Nights. Minecraft, again, we're talking about that. We just don't know exactly what it's going to do. But overall, Sinners is the one who, I mean, if they want, maybe this turns into a franchise for them. I don't know that Coogler would want that after it has Black Panther, but kudos to Warner Brothers for investing in a film like this.
Well,
we're ragging on them a little bit earlier, but they are still putting money into interesting places.
Isn't this the movie that Ryan Coogler negotiated to get rights back in a certain number of years, making some smart business decisions here? Warner Brothers also, after they lost Nolan, after Nolan left because he was like, F you guys.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep talent. I mean, they've, summarily kicked Clint off the studio lot, so that will never sit well with me. They're going to have to do a lot more than give Ryan Coogler a movie back in 25, 30 years to make up for that. Right. Cause I hold grudges, but still it's something. It's something.
And it is going to be released in IMAX 70 millimeter. So, I mean, and they shot a combination of it in IMAX. So that's cool, man. Are you kidding me? Supernatural horror, big screen. This has hit written all over it, you guys. This may be that one big film that rises to the top and honestly competes with the bad boys of summer. Since it is released on April 18th.
Yeah. I mean, you look at something like Us, open spring of whatever year that came out. I think that hit 70 million. Obviously, this is not that. That was Jordan Peele coming off of a phenomenon, a best picture movie. But this hitting 35, 40, 45 million opening weekend, if the buzz is good, if this movie is actually good, and that's the word you start getting 2-3 weeks out, I think this opening around 40 million makes total sense. And people are going to be starved. Theaters are going to be starved for something to open at that level.
Yeah, something that big for sure.
So is there anything we didn't cover that you think has any chance? We didn't really talk much about that Legend of Ochi. Is there any chance Legend of
No.
Ochi?
I think the one to talk about is Until Dawn, which is a video game adaptation that, I mean, The Accountant 2 is gonna do what it's gonna do, which that was a big movie. It might be past its prime, but that's a movie that could make like 60, 70 possibly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because people love that first movie. Dads love watching that movie on cable. So that could get some people out there. I think Until Dawn, this is a movie that I believe Christopher, our VP, wanna be VP of interns, I believe he drafted this movie. He's very high on this movie.
Yeah.
This could be a sneaky hit. I'm not gonna say it's Five Nights at Freddy's, but this could do some business.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love the trailer for this film. I think Sony needs to hype it up. It's honestly, I think it's too close to Sinners. It's the week after, last week of April. It's a tough spot to do well. But again, if people do like it and people start talking about it, and Thunderbolts isn't all it's cracked up to be, I think Until Dawn could actually hold on throughout that month of May and work actually with Sinners. The director of this, David F. Sandberg, right? He also directed Annabelle Creation, right? So, and Lights Out. So this guy he's done this horror thing and he's done it pretty well. Although wait, he directed Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Okay,
Both
well,
Shazams,
listen, listen, man. Look what he did, though. You got to love him for going back to the drawing board and say, "Hey, I'm going to make a horror film again after I did Shazam 2." He also did Shazam once, and that wasn't a bad film actually. So this has pedigree to it, honestly, and I think the concept is pretty brilliant. I hope this turns into the next Sony horror franchise like they did with Resident Evil, right? How many of those did we get? 8, 9, 10 of them? This could be the next Resident Evil series, and you can poo-poo it if you want, but man, those films make money. They made a lot of those for pretty cheap. This looks like it was done pretty cheap. I could see I could see Sony making 5 or 6 of these guys.
Yeah, there's no Mila Jovovich in this movie. It stars Ella Rubin, who I cannot say I know who Ella Rubin is, but I mean that's what that's how you become a scream queen, is you don't know who you are until you start screaming. So yeah, I mean, some tests for the video game properties this spring. You got Minecraft, you got Before Dawn. So we're gonna put video games to the test again. Yeah, they're really, I would be surprised if there is a big breakout of any of these smaller movies that we've talked about. I just don't know what that would be besides what's the Statham one? A Working Man. Other than that, what could possibly break out?
I mean, Accountant 2.
Accountant 2.
Affleck.
Yeah.
Sequel that people have watched over and over again. Tie in with the rewatchables. We can mention that because, of course, we don't have any of our friends from Barstool on right now, so we can mention the distinguished competitors. I think that, I mean, that's a movie that could break out in the sense that it makes 70, 80 million.
Yeah. I mean, the first one made 70. I would be surprised if Accountant 2 made more.
60, 70.
Yeah. And it's the same director, and Affleck's back. Joe Bernthal's in it, so it shouldn't be a giant drop off a cliff. It's not a second movie where now it's all lesser stars in it.
And Affleck is keeping himself special because he does not do. I mean, he did Air, obviously, but he doesn't. It's not like Ben Affleck is on some show on Amazon.
He only does Dunkin' Donuts commercials. That's all he does.
Absolutely. You can see him either in person at a Dunkin', in a Dunkin' commercial, or on a movie screen.
Yeah.
It is cool. And isn't it weird, though, guys, that we're talking about the end of April, which honestly used to be the dumping ground, right? Because all the good movies wait until May, and then you get all these great movies or these blockbuster type wannabes in May. And now we kind of see the flip of this. We're not getting that much heat in March. March is going to be pretty thin. It's going to, you're going to be wanting to watch a lot of college basketball in March because it just ain't in the theaters. But we get to the end of April, and I think that's where the stronger films are. Sinners, Until Dawn, Accountant 2. not The Legend of Ochi. Warfare, those are mid-amateur. Those are mid-April to late April. And that's actually when we see the strength of theaters hopefully come back, is in April of this year. I just don't think we're going to see it in March as far as the spring preview goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot of releases, but it definitely feels like it's spring is tax season, and these feel like a lot of tax write-offs coming out in March and April. And then, you know what? We're going to get to do this in a couple of months with you, Jeff, because then we'll talk summer. We'll talk Thunderbolts. Just real quick as the last thing here, Captain America, Brave New World, it's done what it's been doing for the last 2 weeks. Huge second week drop. Talked to Mendelsohn last episode. His big pull quote was Marvel is fucked. He said it. He said it. We quoted him. It was the title of the episode. We added some asterisks. But he said Marvel is fucked. Couple of months out, are you feeling like Thunderbolts is in some trouble because of the second week drop of Captain America? Do you think it doesn't matter?
I feel like, thank God there's a Marvel film opening up summer. We had Fall Guy. We all know what happened to last summer because Fall Guy opened it up instead of a Marvel film. That said, this is more of a Disney Plus film than a Marvel film. We're not going to get into it, but I would echo that. Yes, this looks much more similar to Captain America 4 than anything else. So we'll get that big opening, probably a big drop off this thing. But Marvel's not fucked in that Fantastic Four may be their saving grace later in the summer. It may be the film that reinvents what Marvel's next phase is and their next heroes are. If we look at what Fantastic Four is, it creates its own world, right? And it's something different that we haven't seen. I'm not saying it's going to be a hit, but if it is a hit, then we have the Avengers lined up and we have everything ready to go and things are on the up and up. But yeah, I do agree. These last two films, Captain America and Thunderbolts, are the speed bumps, and hopefully Marvel can kick it up into high gear with Fantastic Four. Is that the fourth one? Fantastic Four 4, really?
It is FF44. Wow.
Yeah, FF44.
Right.
Well, if you don't count the Corman one.
Oh yeah. So it's FF5, really. Yeah, you're right.
FF5.
You have to count it because it's there. But yeah, the fourth real Marvel film, although the first Disney one. But I agree in Scott in that people are tired of this, where it's a hindrance to now have to feel like you have to do homework to watch these films. We want something new and fresh, and let's just get rid of all those old storylines and move on to Fantastic Four from the 1960s or whatever this revisionist history is. It looks interesting, at least, and I think that that's probably Disney's biggest Marvel film of the year is Fantastic Four.
All right. Well, we'll dig into that in our summer preview in a couple of months. So, Jeff, anything that you want to tell the Wannabe Boys, Wannabe Girls, Wannabe people where they could catch you, what you're up to now? Will you be signing at a signing booth at CinemaCon in a month? Where could people find you?
I'm going to be in Vegas for CinemaCon for the full 4 days. I'm going to be wearing probably this hat because I just want to represent 20th Century Fox when I see Avatar, because I know we're going to see some Avatar. That's probably going to be the drop of the Avatar previews, Avatar 3. And people are going to want it. And I need this, you guys. I'm feeling low after what we dissected March. And April got a little better, but I need that buzz back in me. And I get that when I go to CinemaCon and I see all these actors and I see these previews. And when you're the first to see a preview or any footage, it's so exclusive and it just fills you with energy. And I need to get hyped again for summer, So I need this. And so if you guys are in Vegas or around Vegas, the listeners, come there. We'll all celebrate in style, and then we'll be filthy and sick and disgusted by the third day, but we'll keep eating the free pizza and the free drinks and the free roast beef sandwiches that they give out that have flies all over them. But we won't care, because it's Vegas. This is where we get hyped up. After that, I will be tweeting out from there. Follow on X or Blue Sky at ERC Box Office. That's where I'll tweet all the moments, the precious moments, the highs, the lows, and hopefully the rock bottom parts too, if I can get some exclusive interviews with the people that are still trying to sell 3D technology.
Wow. When you mention these roast beef sandwiches that are free, it's making me think, should I head out to CinemaCon? Last minute,
man.
free roast beef sandwiches. All right, you will be out there for sure. And now there is a chance that Pat of the BO Boys will also be at CinemaCon.
Oh, it would be, you got it. I mean, come on. Like, it's an experience, man. It would be cool because, I'm telling you, if you can do it, Pat, oh, Jesus. I mean, come on. I might not even be sick of it after 4 days if you were there. Let's just say that.
I'm pondering it now. You've got me pondering. Okay. I'm going to, right after this.
It's not just roast beef. It's Danishes. I can show you. Listen, I can show you. There's a secret place where they actually serve, like, usually you can just get cups of things. Like, oh, I'll just give me a cup of Coke or a cup of this. They have the full bottles, but only in one place. I can show you where that is. And we can sneak in there. We can get sandwiches and donuts and Danishes that have plastic wraps around them, not just the stuff they give out to the other people. This is the secret joint, and I'm willing to share that location with you if you show up.
All right. I mean, this is becoming very possible now.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to my financiers, and we are gonna possibly put a plan together for CinemaCon. So Jeff, and of course, follow you on Twitter X. I'm sure,
that's the place, or Blue Sky. Hey, if you're doing Blue Sky, do it, man. Don't wait. Do it now. Those are the places you can find ERC box office spouting out about box office stuff every single day of the year. 365, baby.
So follow Jeff ERC box office on all those platforms. Of course, follow the BO Boys at the BO Boys Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are YouTubers. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
And subscribe to the Substack. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And I think that's it, Clayton. I mean, I think that's all I got to say.
I've finished, and you've said it all, Pat. There's nothing left to be said.
All right. So that's it. We could
Except for until next time.
We'll smell you.